Now, welcome back to Conversation with Professor Utomi, Leading for Change. Prof, now these two books are part of your library. The first, authored by Darren and James, Why Nations Fail, and you authored another one similar to that, Why Nations Are Poor. What's significant about these two books for you as an individual?
I think this is important. By the way, it's just an interesting coincidence that you met these books on my shelf as you walked in. But I wrote the book Why Nations Are Poor in 2006. Fortunately for me, before James Robinson and Darren Acemoglu wrote Why Nations Fail. But there's a genre of books in this tradition that you can see comparing nations, why some succeed. The Financial Times editor and economic historian Alan Beatty has written a really interesting one, The False Economy, comparing literally Argentina, United States of America, and then, of course, there is Neil Ferguson's wonderful book on civilization, The West versus the Rest. At the bottom of many of these books is the role that institutions play in human progress. I argue that while institutions are very powerful and play a very critical role in progress, that we need an even broader framework. And in Why Nations Are Poor, I offer what I call the growth drivers framework, which is a set of interdependent variables that determine why countries make progress and why others don't. And the sets of variables that I deal with in this framework include the policy choices made by the country. They include the strength of the institutions, which is the point that Acemoglu and Ferguson, and even more powerfully Douglas North, in his remarkable book on institutions and institutional change and economic performance, makes. Human capital, education, well-being of people, fundamental. That's why I keep saying, if government has to do only two things, education, healthcare. You do that, the people who have it will make everything else happen. Entrepreneurship, creative destruction, really, really fundamental for how you create wealth. I think the Austrian economist Joseph Schumpeter, essentially enables most people understand how this process makes for countries to get wealthy, and very interestingly, two University of Chicago professors, Raghuram Rajan and Luigi Zingales, of course Rajan left to go to the IMF and all of that, do a more interesting book, I think, along those lines, titled Saving Capitalism from the Capitalists. These processes all show the importance of entrepreneurship and institutions, how institutions help build entrepreneurship, and that leads to wealth creation in countries. But for me, it's central, holding all of this together, is culture. The values of the people determine where they go. And what you see in Nigeria is a collapse of culture, and so we don't have the values that sustain progress. And that's why we have really a recursive economy, 2 steps forwards, 4 steps backwards. So we've got to deal with the culture issues, and the institution issues and all the others. But very, very important, and that's why elections matter, leadership. Because leaders set the tone of culture, and culture shapes human progress. If we had leaders, we would not have the kind of impunity that is damaging our institutions. Let me tell you, in the week that in Ekiti State, a governor-elect was said to have been involved somehow, I don't know how, in thugs also beating up high court judges, and Abuja did not react. Abuja did more damage to 50 years of Nigeria with that one failure to react than it would do seizing the resources of Lagos State for 5 years or whatever number of years Obasanjo played these games with the Bola Tinubu Lagos State.
Well, that's so much we can take on that interview with the conversation with renowned Nigerian professor of economics, Prt2, speaking on the models that best suit Nigeria and the kind of leadership Nigeria needs at this time, with Channel's business editor, Bosa Mofaya, who is still here with me in the studio. Thank you so much, Bosa. And that was an interesting conversation there you had with the professor.
A very interesting conversation.
Let's leave that conversation and look at how the markets are going to be reacting.
No, all the conversations lead to the markets, because you see the market is taking these decisions right now since Monday. You've seen how the stock market is reacting. You've seen the bonds, you've seen the currencies. I'm sure with all the heat in the polity getting out as far as this presidential election is done, of course we have the parliamentary or the governorship election somewhere down in the middle, the first 2 weeks of April. Monday will be an interesting day to look at what happens the morning after.
Well, the morning after, but here, we're still talking Nigeria 2015. The studio is still open. We're still taking your comments. We're still looking at how issues are basically shaping up less than 24 hours to the most anticipated elections, that is the presidential elections. But that is the much we can take on the program for today. Oh, that's the business in the politics. The Nigeria 2015 continues, and I'm Harriet Agbe. I'll see you in a bit.